I came back to Tyneside in 1990, having just had the news that I was losing my sight, in a terrible mess. For a while we lived on the quayside just across the river here, and one night in late 1990, I can't even remember when it was, life was such a blur at the time, I found myself standing on the Tyne Bridge very late at night, very depressed, and seriously thinking about it. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. Here we are 22 years later, sitting in the sage which wasn't even there then. And life is very different. However, what I remember is, in 1990, lots of people telling me that my perception of life for visually impaired people was stuck somewhere in the 60s, and that my perception was wrong. Here we are in 2012, and lots of people in our Facebook group are still facing the same issues I was facing in 1990. So I can't have been wrong. Those issues haven't gone away. They don't seem to have improved very much. We're in, the Facebook generation of visually impaired people are still being offered services that date back to the 1960s. It's not good enough. And that's why we exist. We've gone to great lengths to make sure that everyone in the Lighting the Landscape Facebook group feels welcome. It's open to absolutely everyone, sighted, non-sighted. Nonetheless, if I'm to be really honest, I have a particular heart for people who are facing visual impairment in their 20s, 30s, 40s, who weren't born visually impaired, who find themselves at that stage in their life losing it. It is a different experience, and it is an experience that I don't think is being catered for as well as some others. There are lots of things happening for elderly visually impaired people that aren't happening for those people in that age group, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And for me, it's the isolation, the sense of feeling that you're going through this on your own, that no one else has gone through it, that there is no one that you can talk to about it, and that somehow your life has suddenly been turned upside down and you don't know what's going to happen next. One day you were going along, you had a plan for your life, you had a career, a marriage, possibly young children, everything was going swimmingly, and then all of a sudden someone says you're losing your sight. It's a terrifying thing to be told, and it destroyed me. And for 10 years I went round in a haze. Most of that 10-year period I couldn't tell you what was going on. I can't remember. It was a mess. And it's no good burying our heads in the sand and saying it's not happening now. What we're experiencing within the Facebook group is a bunch of people who are telling us it is happening. And so I've got a particular concern for that. And what we are really trying to say is, look, if there isn't help out there in significant numbers, maybe that's what we, Lighting the Landscape, need to be about. Maybe that's what the handbook is about. Maybe that's what the social side of Lighting the Landscape is about. But certainly we're becoming more and more aware that there is this really glaring gap, and we need to fill it. When you first get the news about visual impairment, it's scary. It's very scary, and many of us don't handle it that well. And what's been coming clear from within the group is that there are some people within the group going through that period now. And for me, 22 years ago, when I was going through it, psychologists talk about the flight or fight syndrome. I didn't do the fight bit, I did a lot of running. And I had a series of sort of bolt holes all around the country that for 3 or 4 years I just ran. I wouldn't face it, wouldn't talk to anybody. And I had these little bolt holes all around the country, friends and places where I felt safe, Places that I could go and have a rant, howl at the moon, swear, jump up and down, get drunk, whatever. Avoid it, really. And places where I was allowed to do that, allowed to be angry, allowed to run away. And here at Ministrator's Monastery, where we are now, this was one of the places I used to come. And it was okay. It was okay to be angry, it was okay to be upset. I'm not trying to preach religion to anybody, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to say is that that's what we want for Lightning the Landscape. Our little virtual space on Facebook is a place where you can come and you can be angry and you can be upset. You can be whatever you want to be, because I know how difficult this period is for you. And you need that space. You need a bolt hole. And if we can be that, then I think we've achieved something. If you are a visually impaired person who has just had that news, and you need a place where you can be that angry, where you can have a strop, where you can cry, shout, whatever, this is the place for you. What's more, I'll defend your right, we will defend your right to do it. If there are other people who don't like that, that's just tough. We know that you need the space to do it, and Lighting the Landscape will be that space.